1979, I bicycled across the country with Gary Hoshak. Now, Gary and I were in high school together, and he said, I need somebody to go with me. So I said, all right. And I ended up, we didn't know what we were doing. We had this great adventure. I hit a cow in eastern Oregon. Gary's bicycle in Kentucky fell into a creek, and it was just, this huge mess. Everything he owned was all wet. We ended up going down the Appalachian Mountains, and we're going down some road, and it was a guy in a car clocked us, and it was 55 miles an hour. We met a guy in Missouri, and he invited us to stay with him, and he drank a fifth of cherry vodka in one night, and he wasn't drunk. And we talked about it later and thought, I think that we met our first alcoholic. And come forward?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
Good, okay. So we end up, if you do a trip like that, you either love each other or hate each other. And we ended up on the love side. So that was in the summer of 1979. And the next year, on Christmas Eve of 1980, I looked at my parents' bulletin from their church, and it said midnight mass will be at 8 o'clock. And I said, you can't have midnight mass at 8 o'clock. The name implies when you've got to have midnight mass. So I told my parents that I was going to go over 11 miles to this other country church, and I was going to go over to church there. The church was packed. I drove in, the snow drifts. You get out there, and just by chance, I sat right behind Gary. He didn't know I was sitting behind him, so I reach over there, and I'm pulling on his hair as we're sitting in the church service. And he thought somebody was doing it by accident, and then he looks around and he sees it's me, and we actually have to keep from laughing in the middle of the whole church service. And at the end of it, he turns to me and says, Tony, come over to Dad's. I said, what? What are you talking about? It's 1 o'clock. He said, I know. We're going to have tequila and ham sandwiches. I said, what? But it's Christmas Eve. I know. Mom died this summer. Her cancer took the best of her. But Dad, all the kids are out of the house. So we're going to go over there and hang out so Dad's not alone on Christmas Eve. Come on over. So I said, okay, sounds good to me. I show up and they line up the shots of tequila for everybody, and I have mine. I got my ham sandwich and the potato salad. And then all the Hoshak boys are giving me a bunch of shit. Tony, you come to our party and you didn't bring anything to eat? You didn't even bring any Blatt's beer? Has anybody here ever drank Blatt's beer? I don't know how they got the cat to pee in the can. It's the most god-awful watery beer you ever had in your life. But the Hoshak boys loved it. So I'm there, and they're drinking their Blatt's beer, and they're laughing, and I'm laughing. I stay there till 3 in the morning, and I wander home. And the next Christmas Eve, I show up at their house, and I have another little party there. And I don't bring anything, but I bring these little green Christmas tree ornaments that are green glass pickles. And every Christmas Eve, I give them something else. And they're laughing about it, but I never bring any beer, I never bring anything to drink, I never bring anything to eat. One year my wife went with me, and they were looking, because they knew I always brought something. But I didn't have anything. And later on in the night, I pulled out the scissors, and I pulled out a bunch of envelopes, and they got to give me a haircut. But if you have 15 drunk people give you a haircut, they put it into envelopes, and they made me autograph it, because they said, well, you're famous, Tony. We're going to sell these on eBay and get a car. And I said, you hold on to that dream there. It's going to be great. There you go. And when their dad died 10 years later, I was over at their house, and all of these guys, the whole family was so sad, and I don't know why, but I just looked at them and I said, wait a minute, more than anything else in the whole world, I've always wanted to be a Hoshak. You guys have enough people here for the board member. Can you vote me into the family so I can be a Hoshak? I'll be Tony Hoshak instead of Tony Toledo. And Gary said, that sounds great to me. And Mike said, oh no, Tony. You don't know shit about baseball. You can't be a Hoshak. I said, but I could learn. And Dwayne says, Tony, you don't know anything about soybeans. They were all farmers. But I could find out more about soybeans, Dwayne. And Carol said, oh, Tony, I would vote you in. So it's going on now, since the end of the 20th century, that we go ahead, and each year they're going to vote me into the Hoshak family. And each year somebody says, oh, I was really voting for you. I've sent them all notes at different times. You're my favorite Hoshak. Don't tell anybody. Vote me in. And it was only last year when I stopped on Christmas Eve, and Gary said, we're going to vote you in, Tony, but gosh, Dwayne didn't want to do it, so it's got to be unanimous. But we want you to have this. And he gave me the pocket knife that their father carried for 30 years. And I just about started bawling, but I thought, damn, maybe this year will be the year that I become a Hoshak.